he or she is taking.
Okay.
That is ruled out. And then it shouldn't be because of any medical condition as well. So those are part of the criteria for arriving at the diagnosis for bipolar. So the elated mood should not be because you were using cocaine or any stimulant drug. The depressed mood shouldn't be because you are using antidepressants or anything like that. So back to the causes. Somebody who is living a wild life using the balloons, and the cocaine and all those things, yes, it has a possibility of getting your mind to enjoy the manic phases more. So there may be a point that you may go off. And from what I have read and seen is that those who do those abusing of drugs either end up with bipolar or they end up with epilepsy, like seizures. Those epileptic seizures, So, for example, rapper Lil Wayne, we're told was abusing codeine, right? And then we are told that he had a lot of epileptic seizures in the process as well. So, when you are used to abusing drugs, there are people who use drugs in moderation, and there are people who use drugs very hard. There are people who like to do a combination of the two. I don't know what. Okay, well, I can have a fair idea because the more you are pumping the substances into your head, the more you are feeling high in there. And that element of grandiosity comes inside a place. So somebody who is using cocaine may feel like he is the baron of the cartel that produces the cocaine. And so in his mind, he's living on a different level from anybody else. And so they want to stay in that phase for long. Now, the side effect or the main effect is that the brain is programmed to live in a certain threshold. So if you're using the number line example, the brain has to be at zero at all times so that it can have its highs and lows. But if you are introducing drugs into the picture, the brain is now going to live at 70.
You're influencing the brain.
Now be at a higher frequency, So if that is not sustained, you begin to feel down and low.
Even at your
at
zero.
your normal, because now you are used to being at 70. Being at a zero feels like a low to you.
Is that why people get addicted to drugs?
That is why people get addicted to drugs. That is one of the major reasons why people get addicted. So because I have pushed my brain to start processing things from this level, if I bring it back, my body begins to call for that. So that's where the tolerance and then the withdrawal symptoms begin to also manifest. But yes, drug have a way of having that difficult lifestyle, that crazy lifestyle can predispose. It's crazy. So those of us listening who are in that habit, because I can't fathom. Like ever since I started doing brain physiology and learning about the brain, that is one thing that I find very fascinating. That if you keep your brain functioning at a level it wasn't programmed to function, you will need to sustain it throughout your life. And if you're unable to sustain it, it comes with so many challenges, one of which is going to be bipolar disorder. Of course, family systems, stress. When we talk about stress, we are looking at financial stress, and all the stress that we encounter in Ghana, depending on your coping mechanisms as well. If you have a healthy support system, you'll be able to thrive. If you don't have a healthy support system, it can predispose you to having a mental health disorder and then bipolar disorder and by extension. So
so is this something you are born with or you develop over time?
Okay, so that is the genetic side, going deeper into it. So nobody is born with bipolar disorder, but research has shown that there is a tendency or there is a higher potential for you to gain or to receive or to inherit, if you like, bipolar disorder if a relative has it. So there's a 10% chance of being bipolar if a relative is bipolar, 10%. Now, I saw twin studies and I saw some statistics in there. So amongst identical twins, I think it's as high as 72%.
Wow.
Yes, of getting
chances
of if one twin is bipolar, the second person has a 72% chance of getting bipolar as well.
So for instance, when they are adults or when they are young, or when they are born, which is which?
At any time when they grow up. Okay, so let's say we are twins, but we are living in two different places, and then you have bipolar. You don't have bipolar, right? Exemplify. So you have bipolar.
No,
I am in. So let's say one person has, right? And then the other person may have has 72% chance of also getting.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that is what the twin studies have shown.
Is it when they live together or when they are different places?
Not necessarily. They can be in different places. That is twin studies, yes. Wow. So most of the twin studies are done with twins who are living in separate places, so that they want to see if their genetics are going to say something important about that which they are looking for. So they put them in two different places, two different environments, and if the same outcome is resulting, then they can confirm and say, indeed, in twins, this is what we are finding amongst them. In fraternal twins, they found 14% chances of getting the bipolar gene, if there is anything like the bipolar gene. But you can be bipolar if your fraternal twin you have 14% chance of also getting. But if you're in a family like mine and nobody has bipolar disorder, then it means that you have to go and look for your own pathways of getting it. So that is what we just mentioned, living the crazy lifestyle and then doing illicit drugs and stress. Exactly. Yeah.
I see. All right. Let's touch on some other things. Yeah. Now, I know that it has effects.
Yes.
On relationships and work. How does it affect you? How does bipolar affect how people relate with each other and also the kind of work that they do? Yeah.
Okay. So even before I come to the work, there is something I wanted to mention. I think I promised myself that if I'm given the opportunity, I'll touch on it.
Okay.
Because in our media spaces, we see a lot of that. And then it's a subtle effect of bipolar. So in a manic phase of bipolar, so many things happen. I mentioned impulsivity, the action, your too much energy to do so many things, activity, yes. There is something we call hypersexuality. Okay, so hypersexuality happens to be a transient or a subtle feature of bipolar disorder. And research has also captured it. So I think it has become a topical issue in circles, in mental health circles, and so research has been done into it. And I would like to bring to bear some of the findings.
Sure.
So I make them some points on it.
Right.
So according to Kopekina et al. 2016, in a Journal of Affective Disorder, it says that increased incidence of risky sexual behavior in bipolar disorders during manic episodes were seen. And these were compared to other psychiatric diagnoses. So it's like we are comparing bipolar patients versus other mental health patients.
Right.
And it was evident that the hypersexuality was more seen in bipolar patients. Yes.
I see.
And it says that hypersexuality in manic episodes and hypersexuality in depressive episodes affected partners' sexual satisfaction negatively. It also persisted into other episodes or other situations. So bipolar, the hypersexuality affects both the manic side and the depressive side as well. Another study done in UK, this was one that bust my brains a lot. Okay, so it bust my brains a lot because they recruited 1,170 participants who were living with bipolar disorder and experienced hypersexual behavior. So they're able to get 1,170 people living with bipolar and were having hypersexual tendencies. Then they also got 3,615 participants with bipolar disorder, but they were not experiencing any hypersexual stuff like that.
Right.
So all the assessments were done, and I think they dwelled more on the other population who didn't show any, were silent on their hypersexual tendencies. Now the key findings said over 54% of those living with bipolar have experienced more than 8 periods of hypersexuality. So these are the people who will not call themselves people who are hypersexual, but in the assessment it was seen that 54% of them were having that tendency.
Right.
2/3 of them saying the period lasted for more than a month. Respondents were mostly sexually active during those periods, with 69% saying they had tried to seduce somebody. The other one I want to mention is Krog et al. 2023. They did a qualitative study, and then they were exploring sexuality and bipolar disorder. And they got 5 themes: sexual drive and impulses, sexual behavior, thoughts and feelings related to sexual issues, intimate relationship, and sexuality and identity. The study also found that hypersexuality was significantly elevated in adolescents with bipolar depression compared to unipolar depression. So the point I was making earlier is that even in the depressive episodes, that hypersexuality still manifests.
I see.
Now you in a depressive phase, you are supposed to have what we call anhedonia. So you are unable to develop pleasure. And you lose pleasure in the things you normally love doing.
Yes, exactly. Because I'm curious as to why the person would not be willing, would not have energy to do any work.
Yes.
But when it comes to sexual stuff, they would want to.
So this is like the second study confirming hypersexuality, even in a depressive episode.
Right.
Yeah. And that is how crazy it can get. That is how sad it can be. So in our Ghanaian circles, we are used to seeing people all over the social media. I don't want to mention names, right? But there are some prominent people who come online from time to time, and then they come and say all manner of things. Yeah. And then people go like, oh, this is Bodaminity. Like they are trying to say they are not well, but they are just covering up for other things. But that is not the case. The reason why this was of necessity to me was because it was just to get the Ghanaian population to know that when somebody steps out and is giving accounts of sexual experiences and mentioning people they've had sex with and all those things, it's not because they want to do it. It's because they are in that elated mood.
Okay.
And there's so much they want to do, and there is no coordination. And like I said, the limbic system, which is responsible for emotional regulation, is compromised in those manic episodes. The prefrontal cortex is not able to do anything when it comes to inhibiting or putting a stop on them. Nothing of that sort can be done by the brain. So it's beyond the person who is talking. The person is talking because the flight of ideas side, then the person has to make sure I see everything on my mind before I can get some comfort. And so that is where they find themselves. So they come online, they feel like they are doing the best. Of course, to them, everything they do is in the best interest of society, is in their best interest. But it takes the other person to look at them and say, no, this is not right, this is not wrong. They cannot see it in those states, in those moments, yes. So it goes a long way to affect a lot of things about the person. Just to answer that question, in terms of work, you may go to work with a lot of energy, right? You are doing so many things at the same time. To you are working. But somebody will sit back and say, I think you should slow down. Now, when you tell somebody living with bipolar to slow down, it's like you are insulting them.
Yeah.
So they get very offensive and they get very defensive. Because to them, everything is fine. So why are you telling me otherwise? And so they may be very angry and they may come at you in a certain way that will not be meaningful, or you will not appreciate. So that is one. The next thing too, when it comes to your interpersonal circles, when it comes to interpersonal relationships, because of your manic phase, you are not able to relate well with family and friends. And the tendency of you also hurting yourself in those moments where you would have those flight of ideas, you would want to do things that hasn't been done before. A story is told of a guy who jumped off the San Francisco bridge in one of the manic episodes. He just jumped into the water, and then I think he survived. So he wrote a book afterwards on his experience with this. So imagine you are working, you are gainfully employed, and then your episode comes up. Say you are a COO, a CEO, and then the manic episode sets in, and then you lose your life. That is running the company down to some extent, causing financial loss to your company and all those things. Family would mourn, grieve if you are the breadwinner, and so on and so forth. Also, if you get the diagnosis in your early adult life, and you are supposed to be the hope of the family, you store the hopes of the family, and then so many situations arise from there. But as it deals with work, they one way or the other have a lot of energy to work. So when the depressive episode sets in, that is when they withdraw from work, and that is when productivity is low. But I'm not saying it will be best, or it's nice to have hypomanic people around, especially when you're getting to your deadline, because they won't rest. They will speed you up. They give you that best of energy, and that may be good to an extent. It may be good for the company, but to the person, if you care about the person, you'd want to get the person to slow down. Yeah.
I see. Our time is almost up, but there are quite a number of things to discuss. But please, if you're listening to us, send us your comments and your questions. 0544 321019 0544 321019. Send us a WhatsApp, and we would also read your messages for you. Now, some people tend to spiritualize it.
Oh yes,
here in Ghana, mental health is often spiritualized. How does that affect people?
It hurts people a lot because on a normal day, a bipolar diagnosis, whether 1, 2, or 3, is very serious. And we say if it is detected early, you are able to have the right interventions in place, and then you can help the person to at least get some medication, continue with therapy as soon as possible. But in our case or in our circles, when we are taking the person to the other side of things, right, we want to go to the prayer camps. We want to pray for the person with days on end. And now let's see, for example, a typical person is, let's say a person has gone 4 days without sleep, and the person is very active and hyper in the manic episode manifesting. And then you take the person to a prayer camp, and the person is acting out. You may think the person is possessed. You may think the person is having a demon in him or so, and then the demon is manifesting or something like that. That is how we will see it in the spiritual lens. You may pray and pray and pray and pray and pray. The person is not manifesting any demon, so no demon is going to result.
That's true.
And then when you finish, realize that you'd have wasted a week or 2 of the person's life when the person could have been sent to the psychiatric facility and given some medications to calm down, and the person would have done therapy, and the person would have been better off than they were sent there. Again, with a spiritual lens, as part of who we are, yes, we are Ghanaians, we are spiritual people, we are, yes, we believe in a deity and all those things. So the best suggestion that we give is, if you want to pray about it, but seek the basic help first.
Right.
So if the person is manifesting, take the person to the psychiatric hospital, because bipolar 1, you need to be hospitalized. Give the person the shot, stabilize the person, and if you want to go to the prayer camp immediately, that is fine. At least you've done the first precautionary measure, and that will help in the long run.
Right. In fact, prayers actually work. The person doesn't necessarily have to be there for you to pray for them to get healed. And so you can take the person to the hospital, seek professional help, and then you can still pray. Exactly. All right. Let's wrap up. Maybe finally. So what treatment options are available for people?
So treatment options, as I just mentioned, bipolar 1 is quite extreme. So you will need some medication. One medication that has been tried and tested and has showed that they call it a golden standard of treatment is lithium carbonate. So lithium carbonate is given to the person who is manifesting, and then you can continue with valproate and then lamotrigine. These are medications that I think the psychiatric people will appreciate more. Now, when a person is stable, we can continue with psychotherapy, where we can do cognitive behavioral therapy. We can do psychoeducation to educate the people about the condition they are dealing with, and so on and so forth. Another thing is, I wanted to mention this thing has escaped me, but no problem. So this is okay. Let's come back. Bipolar is difficult to treat. Okay, because of the ability to go from the manic phase to the depressive phase. So there are some medications you may want to give to somebody who is depressed or somebody who's going through a depressive episode, but you will not want to give that medication to somebody who is going through a bipolar phase, because if you're able to raise the person from the depressive state to the euthemic state, the person has a possibility or the potential to jump into the manic phase as well. So bringing the person to normal is not enough.
Right.
So instead of using antidepressants to raise their moods, we use antipsychotic medications. So we borrow medications from those who are battling with schizophrenia and all those things. These are some of the medications we use to treat bipolar. So in bipolar treatment, it's like a salad. a mix from everywhere. There are atypical psychotics. There are atypical antipsychotics. There are antidepressants. There are mood stabilizers and all of this. And then we complement them with psychotherapy, because if the person is just taking a medication, there's a possibility of the person going back to depression or to mania. So when we complement the two, it is shown, research has shown that is the best help we can give anybody.
Okay, Stan, thank you very much for your time this morning. Maybe one key message for our listeners, if anybody wants to take anything away, what would you say to them?
When you are struggling, especially thinking too much, heavily stressed, feeling traumatized, take a trip to the hospital, ask for a psychologist unit, and have a conversation with them. This may save you a full-blown bipolar or any mental health pathology in the future, because that is how it starts. It starts small. So when you are overwhelmed and you are feeling lost, just take a trip to the psychologist, have a conversation. Now with NHIS, it's free in the hospitals, so you can take a trip there, and then everything will be fine.
Thank you very much, Stan, for coming this morning. Thanks for sharing with us. We are really grateful. I think it's been a very good conversation, and I'm sure our listeners have picked quite a number of things. But thank you once again.
Thank you.
Hopefully we get to have other conversations in the coming days. All right, and thanks so much to you also for listening right from 6:15 till now. This is how we wrap up today on the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Nitrebi Hammond. We're back again on Monday for some more interesting conversations. But if you miss any part of the conversation on bipolar, we're going to put that on our YouTube page at Zed Multimedia. You can visit and play back just to understand exactly what it means, so that when you begin to see symptoms like that, whether in you or other people closer to you, you are able to detect, and then maybe you advise accordingly. And so thank you very much. My name is Nitrebi Hammond. I'll see you on Monday.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. And also do follow us on all our socials. On TikTok at Zed Multimedia, LinkedIn at Zed Multimedia, YouTube at Zed TV, IGX, and Facebook at ZFM GH.